Hi there, this is Kush from creativepadphotography.com. Welcome back to the Photoshop tutorial for beginners video series. We are on part 10 and this is a very important part because we're going to be learning about a technique called layer masking, which is very essential if you want to go advanced into editing, Photoshop editing. So let's dive into our shots. So I'm going to open these two shots, two smileys. One is against a white background, one is against a blue background. And I've attached these two images in the description of this video so you can access them. Right, so first thing I'm just going to quickly do is just going to unlock this and this. Now what I want to achieve in this image is that I want to combine both these smileys together. Okay, so and I want to keep most of the blue background. So what we're going to do is, of course, just like I've been showing you in the previous videos, what we can do is I can just whenever we have superimposed two images in the previous parts, what we've done is we've just put one image on top of the other like this, right? And now I have to reveal the smiley from underneath if I want to get both the smileys together in the picture, right? So what we've been doing till now is we've just taken the eraser and just to do a rough kind of a job. Of course the edges are not perfect, but that's okay. So that's about it. So we've got both of these things together, and then what we can do is we can just save this as a JPEG. So what I'm first showing you is the wrong way. That is the way we've been doing, but we've just been doing this because the eraser tool is easy to understand for beginners. But now we will move into something more advanced, which is called layer masking. All right, so we're going to save this as, let's say, combination. And then what I'm going to do is so that is our image saved, right? So if you open the image called combination, this is what we're going to see. And also I'm just going to save this as a Photoshop document. So that is like a project document so that we don't even lose our layers here. So let's say I'm just going to close this now and I open our image first, which is what we did. And I look at this image, and let's say if for some reason I say I'm not happy with this, I want half of this smiley to be covered in blue. That is, I want to recover the blue part of this top layer that we had used, right? For some reason, it doesn't have to make sense right now going by the look of the image. It's just for an example's sake. So let's say I want to recover half of this blue on the smiley. Now the problem is you cannot do right now anything to recover that blue except for using a paintbrush and painting blue, but that's not what we're talking about. We want to recover the blue from the original layer 2 image. So my first thinking will be that, okay, I've saved this as a Photoshop document where I have both the layers, so I can recover it from there. So I'm going to open basic 1. So if I open a Photoshop document, we get our layers back the way we worked on them. So we have our layer 1 on top. This is the image from which I want to recover the blue background. Now the problem is if you look closely, you'll see a kind of a hole here, which is actually showing through the checkered board. This basically means you've deleted that part of the image, and what you're seeing underneath is nothing basically, right? So I cannot recover this blue part back now. That's a problem. So this kind of an editing is referred to as destructive workflow process or a destructive editing, which basically means you have done some damage to the shot and it's not recoverable even if you want, right? That's because you used this tool, you've deleted a certain part of the picture. So when you go advanced into editing, right, so what you have to understand is that you have to learn a non-destructive process or a non-destructive workflow when you're editing your shots, so that anytime you feel something has gone wrong, you can open up your Photoshop document and you can recover stuff from that layer. And that is what layer masking enables you to do. And this is very important. You may not be able to judge the importance from 2 layers, but the problem is when you go advanced into editing, you will be dealing with multiple layers, 15 layers, 20 layers, sometimes 30 to 50 layers also. And there, if any of your layers has used a destructive workflow process, then things can become very tough because you might just have to start your editing all over again. So again, this you may not be able to understand all this right now, but when I'll keep showing you examples with a proper photograph, you'll probably understand it much more. But let's see how you would do this with a layer mask, just to show you with the same images. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close this, I'm going to close this, And also, if you've ever seen, there are a lot of good YouTube channels out there. If you of course you must have watched them, and a lot of times if you've ever thought that I'm not understanding what this guy is doing, like I'm understanding the overall things, but what is he doing in between with some things, it's a good chance that the things that you haven't understood are related to layer masking. That is, that person has been using layer masks, but they don't explain that very well. So that's another advantage of learning layer masking right now, that you'll be able to watch those advanced videos and you'll be able to relate and learn from them in a much better way. Right, so I'm just going to open these two images again, and I'm just going to do the same thing again. So the initial part will remain the same. It's only going to change from the point we select the eraser. So I'm just again going to drag this image, the blue one, on top of this. Okay, now instead of using the eraser, what we're going to do is we're going to click this icon here. Okay, this is, you can see it says add layer mask. So I'm just going to do this, and you're going to see this white, thumbnail kind of a thing come right next to your layer 1 thumbnail. Okay, so what this basically means is this is referred to as a layer mask, and you can think of it like a sheet between your layer 1 and layer 0. It's like something in between, and it's something that can be removed or again recovered. Right, again, I know this is just best to show you. So I have this sheet in between these two things, and what I can do is, so right now it's white. Okay, so if I select my paintbrush and if I select black color here, and of course just see this properly that I've selected this layer mask. I'm not working on anything. So when you're working with layer masks, you have to make sure that not only have you selected the right layer, but your icon here should not be on the thumbnail on your main image. It's on the layer mask. So with the layer mask selected, right now it's white, and if I select my paintbrush as black, and if I just paint here, just going to increase the opacity. If I paint here, you can see that it's doing something exactly similar to what we did with the eraser tool, right? So if you see now, there's a black spot here, right? So what we've done is, whenever you paint something with black on the layer mask, this black thing basically means that now you're seeing through and you're seeing the layer below. It's similar to saying what you did with eraser, but instead of destroying our image, or instead of deleting our image, what we're doing is we're basically just working on this layer mask, and which is easily recoverable, because like I showed you in the earlier part, let's say you wanted to recover half of this back, half of the face, you wanted the blue color to come back again. Then what you can do is you can just simply select white color from here on your paintbrush, and with the layer mask selected, just paint with white. So when you paint something with white, what happens is you start seeing the top layer back. So the black reveals the one below, and the top is, like, you can call it unerasing the image, so that you can recover this back. And then later on, let's say I feel no, I had done, the original was correct, so no problem, just change the color here and work exclusively on the layer mask. So I'm just going to select black. So if I select black, it's back again, and now you can see we have a big black circle here, because that's what we've painted on, and this is exactly what is showing through the image. So anytime I feel that I want to recover this image, there's no problem, just change the brush back to white and you're good to go. So if I save this as a Photoshop document, when I open that Photoshop document back, this is exactly what I'm going to see. So I'm not going to be doing anything destructive to my image. So in fact, let's do that. So I'm going to save this as basic 2. So I'm just going to close this. If I open up basic 2 and I feel that I need to recover this image back, then you can see our layer mask is still there. So I'm just going to select the layer mask, select the right brush, which is going to be, if I want to reveal, is going to be black. So this just takes a bit of getting used to. Black, white, white, black. That's pretty easy. And I've got my image back, right? So I can basically not be afraid of making a mistake when I'm editing, because everything can come back, right? And it also allows you to work exclusively on some things, and just do it in a very non-destructive way, and this is very, very important. Okay, so let's actually see this with a proper image. So I'm just gonna open these two images, editing video 1 and editing video 2. Okay, so we got two images here now. So I was shooting Gateway of India in Mumbai, and there are a lot of birds that keep flying near this monument. But the problem is, which I was facing was that I wanted to capture these birds along with the monument. But the problem, of course, is that if you want to capture birds, you of course have to use a slightly high shutter speed. So I wanted a bit of motion blur on the birds, so I used a shutter speed of 1/40. But the problem with that is you can see the bottom part of the image looks very unattractive with this, all the wrinkles in the water and other things, all the texture being shown. So I had my 10-stop ND filter that time, and what I did with the next image was that I took another shot, and this is a 40-second shot. So this has blurred our water very well, and we've got a nice looking reflection which I wanted of the monument. But of course the problem with this shot is that the birds have of course gone because of the extreme long exposure, the slow shutter speed. So if you know layer masking, that's not a problem at all, because what you can do is you can easily combine both these images using layer masking. So let's quickly do that. So I'm going to, let's say, put the image with the birds on top. You can do it either way, it doesn't really matter which one is on top. Okay, then I'm just going to put this on top, make sure my upper layer is selected, and I'm going to click on this layer mask icon so we get that thumbnail again. And I'll just give you 10 seconds to guess what is it that I'm supposed to do on this layer mask now. So what I have to do is I have to reveal this layer below. So what should be my next step here? So I'll give you 10 seconds. Can you guess it? So if you guessed a paintbrush with black selected and running it on this part of the mask, then your answer is correct. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So with this selected, I'm just going to run the black parts only on the places where the water is, also on the places where the boats are, because if you see this image here, 40 seconds is a long time, and these boats are of course moving a bit on the water even though they're stationary, so they are a bit blurred, like you can see. So the boats plus the water is what I want to recover from this so actually the boats are what I want to keep from this image, and just getting a bit confused here. Right, so what I have to do is I just basically have to recover the water from the image below. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so just going to start running the eraser mask here, and you can see you can see the black being painted here. So I just have to be very careful that I only do it on the water, though if I do go like something like this, I don't have to worry, because later on I'll just select white and I can just run it on back. So okay, so you see we've combined both these images. We got our birds here, we got the nice blurred water here, and I accidentally ran over these boats a bit, but that's not a problem. So if you would have saved this image, if you did this with the eraser, you save this image and later you realize these boats are looking blurred, you cannot do anything about it because it's a destructive process. You deleted the image. But with this, if I later on saw this image and I felt I should have recovered my boats back, that's no problem. Open up the document again, select white, and just run it on the boats. So you can see we got our boat. Since we're running from the white paintbrush, we're basically recovering whatever is on the top image. So these images here, you see we got our little bird back because we ran here. If you don't want the bird back, no problem, select black and recover from the layer below. Right, so got a bit of a bird here. So this of course is an issue because this bird is colliding with the boat, so you have to pick one of them. So I'm going to pick the boat. Right. Right, so you can see how layer masking has easily enabled us to combine these two images, superimpose these two images, and do it in a non-destructive way. So let's go a bit further. So what I'm going to do is, let's say if I feel I want to add a bit of contrast to this image, so I can go to my adjustment section here, just like I've been showing you in the earlier parts, and let's say I select this option called brightness contrast. So select this and say add a bit of contrast to this image. So you can see when I open up an adjustment function, this is something I purposely did not tell you in the earlier parts when I was showing you the different adjustment functions or tools in Photoshop. Whenever you open something like this, it always opens up with a layer mask of its own. So this white thing that you were seeing was nothing but a layer mask. And how you can use this? Exactly in the same way as this one. So let's say I added the contrast to the overall image, but let's say I feel that the contrast is looking good on the water, but it's not looking good on the sky. Then what I can do is simply select black, which is already selected here, and that is using the paintbrush, and then make sure this mask here is selected. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run it back. So what I've done is, now you can see the black thing has come here, which basically means we've gone back to our original. That means the contrast that we added through this is only being reflected on the white part of this image. That is the bottom part. So let's add one more layer. We've seen photo filter, I think in part 9, if I'm not wrong. So let's say I want to add a bit of warmth to this image. So I'm adding a warming filter, and so I'm going to just push things a bit on the extreme side just to show you the effect. So let's say this is what I came with, and I save this image, and later on I realize that, you know what, maybe the sky is looking good, but the water was good when it was blue or with a cooler temperature. No problem. You open up your document again, make sure you click on the layer mask and select black, and just run it on this. So you can see now we got our blue things back from the earlier layers. So anytime you want to exclusively work on things, and you will have to do that when you go advanced into editing, and this can really pile up the layers here. So it's just a very non-destructive way of doing this. So let's say if I saw the image again, and let's say I felt that no, the contrast here actually did look good, so I changed my mind for the second time on the sky. That's no problem at all. You can again come back to this middle layer here. As long as it has a layer mask, it's non-destructible. So what I can do here is I can recover the sky back. So right now the sky is being hidden because it's showing the effect of the layers below. So the effect of this particular layer is not coming because it's not white, right? So what I can do is I can just select white, and if I do that, I'm going to get my contrast layer back on the sky. So you can see now we have white here again. So it's easily recoverable. So this is just an introduction into layer masking. Of course, when we go and edit a lot of different types of images, you will actually start to see the real importance of it. But the main aspect of using a layer mask is the non-destructive workflow process. So having said that, do give this a shot on your own. Try to think of images wherever you can use this. And it also, just the knowledge of layer masking also makes you a much more aware photographer. So when you're actually shooting out there in the locations, you are actually not scared to try out a lot of things, because you know that the technique of layer masking will help you combine images, and it just helps you get very creative. So you can shoot at different times, maybe a same scene, but at different times of the day, because some part of the image was looking good and the other part, maybe the foreground was looking good at that time, but the background was not looking too good at the other time. Or maybe something like this, where a particular thing like this is happening, an event like this, but it does not go well with the other part of the image. And so you don't have to lose. You don't have to get a image which is 50% good. No, with layer masking, you can get an image which gets the best out of all the parts, right? So from now onwards, you will actually, all the videos that we'll be doing, I'll try my best to incorporate layer masking, especially after we're done with a few more basics. But this is something that you can at least start to understand, and you can absolutely now start to watch a lot of advanced videos on YouTube, and I'm 100% sure that your understanding of what those guys are doing in those videos will be much better than what it was before, because you would understand that whenever they use a layer mask, you would understand why they're using it and how it's benefiting your shot. All right, so I hope you like this video, and do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will continue with learning the basics. So we may or may not incorporate layer masking every time, but this is a beginner's tutorial video series, so of course at some point this is going to come. But yeah, so I'll see you in the next part. I hope you like this. Bye for now.